Hey, this is Colin Nathan Alim, the real estate boy, and welcome to Philly Friday. In this live stream, we are going to be talking about current events that are happening in the Philadelphia real estate market. You want to stay for this whole live stream, okay? And if you're not catching this on live stream and you're catching this on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe and make sure you hit the notification button. I'm Colin Nathan Alim, the real estate boy, and I'm a licensed real estate agent in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Now, today we're looking at this Philadelphia Magazine article entitled, Will the Real Estate Boom Change Philadelphia's Status as a City of Homeowners? Now, I didn't know Philadelphia was a city with the status of the city of homeowners because right now it's 50-50. Okay. Philadelphia's makeup as far as owners versus renters is 50-50. So I don't know where this author Sandy Smith. I don't know where she's getting this from, but I've never heard that Philadelphia was the city of homeowners. So this article starts by saying Philly has a long, proud tradition as a city where where home ownership is reached by many. What happens if Philadelphians can afford homes here anymore? So I think the title of this is a little bit much. Okay, I've been living in Philadelphia all of my life, born and raised, and I've been outside of Philadelphia, and I've never heard that Philadelphia was a city of homeowners. So let's see what Sandy's talking about. Okay, so Sandy says, um, up on North 16th Street in Ogans, a few blocks from Broad Anomaly, someone bought a new renovated row home in early March. Um, about a month after it went on the market, the price was $310,000. Okay, so I actually have a rental property up in the Broad Anomaly area. Uh, I had that property maybe like for 4 or 5 years. In any case, it says row houses in that part of town don't get makeovers all that often. Most of their owners have lived in them for years and don't feel a great need to renovate them. But once in a while, someone passes away or moves and the opportunity opens up. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I don't agree with it that they don't need updating. A lot of those homes up there do need to be updated. Okay. Do they actually get updated? A lot of times, no. All right. They're moving ready. They're functional. But to say that there's not a great need to renovate them might be a little, I don't like that language too much. Okay. It almost seems to me like they're saying, oh, well, um, they shouldn't want like new things or nice things. That's just the way that I'm getting. That's the feeling that I'm getting from this article. All right. So it goes to say, it says a friend of Asmet LV tipped him off to this one. LV, a builder in Bucks County, specializes in buying homes in family oriented neighborhoods, mostly in the suburbs, making them look spiffy and selling them to new homes. So this guy seems to be a flipper. This guy, Asmat LV, he seems to be a flipper, and I guess he works in Bucks County. Bucks County it is a well-to-do area. There's a lot of detached homes out there. So I guess what he probably does is he probably goes in there and he probably flips them. He goes in and he there's a house that's already standing and he goes in and he renovates it and then he sells it. And people who live in Bucks County, they definitely can afford those flipped homes. All right. So this guy says we don't need to pick high end, hot neighborhoods to work in all the time. One of my friends said that there is a house there, and he's talking about that Ogans area. And he went to see the neighborhood around it. It was mostly African American, middle class, working people everywhere. So I said, yes, we should be doing houses in this area too. So I guess a friend tipped him off about this house. He went in and renovated that house, and then they put it on the market, meaning they flipped it for $310,000. So the article continues to say, we do things the same way, no matter where his firm works, he continues. Whatever family is going to come here, they should have the best possible features available to them. And I totally agree. It seems like what this article wants to say is that, oh, well, because a person wants to live in Ogans or close to Broad and Alany, they shouldn't want good things, or they shouldn't want a moderate home. Here's the thing. Broad and Alany is right down the street from Edison. And this is my take on that neighborhood. You got Edison Hospital. It might be Thomas Jefferson now. I'm not sure, but it used to be Edison. Okay. Edison, there's a hospital that's near there in walking distance. So of course, people want to be close to their work. So if you got doctors and you got nurses, of course they can afford it. They probably don't want to go all the way up to Lafayette Hill. They probably don't want to go all the way to King of Prussia. If they can find something in the area that's nice where they can just walk to work, hey, they may do it. That's always been my theory about that area, because Broad and Alany is right there, which is a main transportation hub. So you have Broad and Alany right there, and then you have a full hospital in walking distance from there. And if you look down Broad Street, you see what? Center City. So this area, this area is super right to be gentrified. I mean, to be honest, okay? So the article continues. Whoever bought this house is getting just that from LV. It has an open plan main floor with a floating metal staircase, an electric fireplace, and a modern kitchen. It also has new manufactured hardwood floors throughout. Five decent sized bedrooms, porcelain tile in the main shower, a finished basement with a full bath and laundry, all right, plus a third full bath on the main floor and a large deck in the back over the garage entrance. So this house sounds crazy. I wish they put the address in there so I could see it, but this house sounds nice. A full finished basement, and the home that I have in that Broad and Alany area, it's not a finished basement, but the basement is huge. It does have a bathroom down there, but the basement is huge. So I will finish the basement at some point in time. So I can visualize this house in my head. So the article continues. It says most real estate pros will consider this house reasonably priced at $125 per square feet. But there's a hitch. Breaking one of the rules of thumb for buying homes, the buyer probably can't be one of his neighbors. All right. So now they're saying that this home is priced too much for the neighbors. And this happens a lot of times. This happens a lot of times and I know people, they get riled up about this word gentrification, and then they jump. Okay. Well, in order for gentrification to happen, somebody has to sell. Somebody has to sell. These people aren't stealing these homes. Somebody has to sell. So if people want to stop gentrification, as they say, stop selling the homes. Stop selling the homes to these developers and develop them yourself. But it doesn't seem like they're developing. What happens is people are losing homes to foreclosure. People are losing homes to people are passing away, and the home isn't correctly documented, or people don't have a will. Okay, people don't have a will, and people don't have trust. So what happened is some of these homes get lost in probate. So some of these homes, so I think people who are in these areas that may be gentrified, they have to do a better job of having a will. They have to do a better job of having a trust. They have to do a better job of not getting foreclosed on. Okay. And I know I'm stirring up the bees box here, but this is how people are able to come in and get these homes. Okay. Let's continue. It says the median value, all right, the median value as of 2019 for homes or houses in the blocks around this one is $123,000. All right. So the median value in 2019, now 2019 was before the run up. Okay. It's 2022 right now. So 2019 is really before the run up. I bet you dollars to donuts that the median house value in the area now is probably like 180 or 190. So anyway, it says the median value as of 2019 for the houses in the block around this area that we're talking about was 123,000. Okay, that's 2.65 times the local median household income of $46,435, the highest ratio the industry considers affordable. This home is priced at almost 7 times that, way beyond the reach of families living around it. Zoom out to the census tract and the numbers get more out of whack. So what they're saying here is people who live around that area can't afford the home. That's what they're saying. They're saying people around. When has that ever stopped progress? Okay, there's going to be people who come from outside who want to live in that area. So I almost feel like they want to kind of dumb down the area per se. All right. Now, I'm not talking about displacing people. So before people get up in arms and be like, hey, no, whoa. No, I'm not saying to move people out or price people out. Okay. But at the same time, why should we dumb down the area? And dumb down the area means like you're trying to stop progress. Now, here's the thing about the housing market. If they put that home on the market for $310,000, if there's not a market for it, it won't sell at $310,000. It won't sell at $310,000. What will happen is it will come down to what people are willing to pay for it. So why it seems like this author wants somebody to kind of step in and be like, no, this house is selling for 7 times what these other homes in the area are selling for. So no, don't renovate this home or don't sell this home. If it's not worth $310,000, the price will come down. But if it is worth $310,000, my man, you live in a capitalistic society. So what that means is that if it's worth $310,000, man, let that man sell that house for $310,000. All right, let's move on to what this article is saying. All right, it says, what all this means is that as waves of redevelopment and reinvestment spread beyond the neighborhoods of greater center city, a growing number of Philadelphians may find themselves priced out of their own neighborhoods. All right. At least Kevin Gillen, a senior fellow at Drexel University's Lindy Center of Urban Renovation, says so. Man, I see Kevin all these interviews. I see Kevin all these interviews. And what is scary about that is when you have one voice. Who knows Kevin's situation? I'm sure Kevin is saying what he feels is the truth, but he can be getting paid off. I don't know Kevin personally. Okay. I just see his name. It seems like whether it's the Inquirer, the Philadelphia Mag, all of these articles about Philadelphia real estate, I see Kevin's name come up over and over and over. He could be in the pocket of a City Hall. He could be in a pocket of City Hall, but how will we know that? We're just getting one perspective. So anyway, what they're saying here is that as houses are improved, that people who live in the neighborhoods won't be able to afford them. So why don't we focus on leveling people's financial literacy up? This is my twist, okay? Don't dumb down the neighborhood. How about you rise the people up? Increase their income, meaning what? Increase their financial literacy so they can afford these properties. So that one man who's about to buy Twitter at like $46 billion, there's enough money to go around. All these people don't have to be poor or middle class, as they say in this neighborhood, but you're saying they're too poor to afford a renovated home in their property. How about we attack financial literacy and do like Florida did and make it mandatory that in high school kids are taught financial literacy? How about that? Instead of sitting here and trying to dumb down the neighborhood and basically say, like I said, like I keep saying, that, oh, well, y'all can't afford this, so I'm going to call this out. Man, beat it. All right, let's continue with what the article says. It says in December, Gillian gave a presentation to the development workshop, okay? A group of 50 or so of the city's most prominent developers, architects, builders, lenders, lawyers, planners, former public officials. I don't see no agents in there, okay? All devoted to promoting development in the region. He noted that from 2000 to 2021, Philadelphia went from being the second most affordable of the 11 area counties he tracks to the least affordable. So this guy, this economist, he has 11 counties. I wonder what the counties are, okay? But they're probably Philadelphia, and they're probably the 4 collar counties, Chester, Delaware County, Montgomery, and Bucks. All right, so that's 5 counties. So there's 6 other counties that he's tracking. So what he's saying here is that Philadelphia went from the second most affordable to the least affordable. The article continues. What's more, since the start of the pandemic, the house price to income ratio in Philadelphia rose 15%, mirroring the nationwide rise. So, hey, man, like they say, rising tide carries all boats. All right. Several factors, he says, have brought the city to this unlovingly pass. All right. So now he's going to say, so what he's saying is that Philadelphia has become more unaffordable. Out of the last statistic that I heard, of the like 10 or so top cities, major cities in America, Philadelphia is the poorest city. Philadelphia is the poorest city. So it almost seems like he wants us to stay as the poorest city. I don't want to stay as the poorest city. As a Philadelphian myself, I don't want to stay as the poorest city. But this seems like they want us to stay. They want us to stay as the poorest city. Okay. So now he's going to give the factors. Okay. So why has the city become, according to him, so? And I think this is a play on words. I really do. I think this is a play on words where, unaffordable. How about we just stop being a poor city? How about that? Huh? Okay, let's continue. So now I'm going to get into the seven factors why he says that Philadelphia has become unaffordable. All right, so he says the big trigger was COVID and the shift in the economy to housing consumption, he says. People started working from home and spending more time at home during the worst days of COVID. I agree. Excuse me. Your home wasn't just where you lived or worked. It was your restaurant, your theater, your gym, your spa, your open door space if you had a yard. So all the money that would have been spent outside the house, people started spending on their own homes, either upgrading them or looking for new places. And I agree with that. I totally agree with that. People before COVID, they were going to restaurants, they were going to theaters, they were spending money on a gym, on spas, they would go on trips. But now with COVID, now they're still making money, but now they got to spend that money in different places. So instead of going out, they would spend it on their homes. I totally agree with that. He continues to say, then top of it all, millennials who had been happy renting entered the market. And as a group, millennials are the biggest group. So now they're entering the market in droves. It says during the lockdown, these younger buyers weren't going out either. They were paying down their student debt. They were getting their credit scores up. Their savings were growing because they weren't going out and spending money. And on top of that, they got stimulus checks. Right. They got stimulus checks. These millennials who weren't really thinking about renting, because they're in the younger stages of their life. They're not thinking about, or excuse me, they're not thinking about buying. But now that COVID hit, I got nothing to do. I'm all caught up in this box that's an apartment. All right, I got this money. All right, let me pay my student debts down. Let me get my credit up. And now I want to buy a home. So they're entering, and I do see that. I do see that out there in the market, that they're entering the market by droves. All right. It says all of this happened as they were entering their prime home buying years, meaning the millennials. The oldest millennials are now turning 40. They're getting married, they're pairing up, they're having children, which are home buying trigger events. This group may not have had that much impact on housing prices in the city. This is what Kevin's saying, since they were more likely to seek houses with yards, which are in short supply here. Yeah, because Philadelphia doesn't have a lot of greenery. Excuse me, let me say this like this. Philadelphia doesn't have a lot of homes that have yards, okay? But to the extent that they did buy, they exacerbated the raging selling market that has been going on for nearly 4 years. At the end of 2021, investors in both city and suburbs were so low that there were just, I'm sorry, inventory. I said investors. Let me take that back. Inventories. Inventories in both the city and suburbs were so low that there were just 1.4, there was just a 1.4 month supply of houses on the market. The balanced market has a 5 to 7 month supply. All right, that's the housing supply ratio. What the housing supply ratio says is that if no homes come on the market, how long would it take for this inventory of homes to be bought up? So a balanced market is that you have enough homes on the market right now that if no more homes came on the market, on average, these homes would be bought up in 5 to 7 months. Okay. So what they're saying is that you would have in a balanced market a 5 to 7 month supply of homes. Right now, we're only at 1.4. Okay. So if no more homes came on the market, how long would it take for all the homes to be bought up? It would take literally a month and a half. So we don't have a lot of homes on the market. And therefore, all the reasons that I just said, okay? So he continues, add all of this together, and you get those skyrocketing price to income ratios and perhaps a threat to Philly's long, proudly held mantle as the East Coast affordable stronghold for working folk. Never heard that, but okay, Kev, I'll take your word for it. Maybe in academia, that's what they call Philadelphia, but on the streets, I haven't heard that. It says there are other factors that may contribute to the decreasing affordability of homes in Philadelphia. One of them lies not quite 100 miles up 95. Okay, so now he's going to go to other factors. So he just talked about some factors as far as COVID and people not spending money outside the home, but spending money inside the home, talking about the millennials as a group. Now they're coming to the age to where they're buying homes. So you have that big influx of demand from the millennials. Now he's going to talk about other places like New York. All right. So it says for some decades now, we've heard about New Yorkers migrating in search of the big city life that they love at a much lower cost. The pandemic pushed the number even higher, where net migration from New York to Philly averaged somewhere between 400 and 600 people annually in the 2010s. That rose to about 1,500. All right. So in the 2010s, 400 to 600 people annually would migrate, according to this article, would migrate from New York to Philly. But now that's risen to 1,500, more than doubled. But Kevin says the effect of New York transplants on our housing market is greater at its upper end. In the luxury segment, like on the main line in Center City, A 1.5 million home that may seem expensive to a Philadelphian is cheap to a New Yorker, especially if they're telecommuting to New York and still drawing that New York salary. With the pandemic severing the link between workplace and residents of other super cities like Washington, San Francisco were giving Philly a look. And that makes sense because what I did hear is that I've heard that Philadelphia is like a big city with a small city feel. And you feel that. When you go to New York, it's almost overwhelming. Like when I'm in New York, I just marvel at the people on top of people and the structures in there. I mean, it seemed like on every block there's like a huge apartment. Huge apartment, huge apartment. Like our duplex, I feel like our duplexes are like their high rises. It's like you see them everywhere. And I'm just like, wow, man, there's like 500 people in that little building. You get amazed. And there's so many food options, of course. Love the food options. But then you come to Philly and it's just like, wow, this is a small city. It's a major city, but it's a small city. Anyway, so it says that these migrants and the market segment that were concentrated made their effort for overall affordability trivial. The real concern lies, all right. So what they're saying is that, okay, if you're in Washington, not Washington, D.C., New York, for example, I have a brother who lives in New York. I might have spoke about this before. I have a brother that lives in New York, lives in Harlem, makes decent money, makes like $150,000 a year, okay? But he lives in like a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom apartment. And the apartment looks like, I'm gonna say it like this, they look like converted projects. That's what they look like to me. They look like converted projects. Like this used to be a project and they converted it. Maybe that's not the case, but it's right across the street from an active project. Okay, is right across the street from an active project. Now, if he is, I don't know how much he's paying for rent, but if he is telecommuting and he doesn't have to go in the office, maybe but once a week or once a month, I know that he can take his salary. He can come down here. He could probably buy a $400,000 home. So he can buy a $400,000 home. So if he's in Philadelphia, he can have a home, a nice home, a totally renovated home. And he goes down to 30th Street, jumps on Amtrak, and goes to New York maybe once a week. And the drive wasn't that bad. The drive was like 2 hours. You up and back 2 hours, and you have that's a no-brainer. 2 hours and you have the same salary, it's a no-brainer. So I definitely understand why somebody would do it because it's love. Anyway, it says the real concern lies. So what he's saying here is that these New Yorkers or Washington DCers or San Franciscoers, if you say it like that, they're not really touching the mid-market. What they're doing is the luxury market or the lower luxury, okay? Mainline, Center City, okay? They're not really, a lot of them aren't moving to Ogons or Broad and Island. This is what he's saying. So it says the real concern lies in the mid-market neighborhoods like Ogons that house the bulk of the city's middle-class households. And here, Kevin says, the issue is simple. House prices have grown, but incomes haven't kept up. This puts newer homes beyond the reach not only of middle-class households, but also younger first-time home buyers. Now, what they are trying to do is they are is slated. I say it's slated because if this grant has had slated times that have gotten pushed back already, but it's slated the Philly first-time home buyer grant, which is a down payment assistance program, is slated to go live in a couple of days here in May. So they are trying to help first-time home buyers. So here, what he's saying here is that this puts new houses beyond the reach of middle-class households, okay? Because he's saying that housing prices have grown, but incomes haven't kept up. So why don't we concentrate on getting these people incomes up? Again, financial literacy. I'm going to keep on saying it. Financial literacy. Help those individuals, educate them on how to gain higher pay. Okay. It says, ordinarily, this will lead builders to increase the housing supply, driving prices back downward, which they're doing, but with some catches. So what happens is that if prices go up and incomes don't go up, what'll happen is people will stop buying and then the prices will go down. Because as the housing prices go up, more builders come in because they see the higher prices and they want to get in, so they build more. But then what happens is that because of this supply and demand, the supply goes up, then the demand goes down. So that's what they're saying usually would happen. So they continue, which they're doing, but with some catches. According to the Center City District in 2021, the city issued new building permits for 2,672 buildings with 26,116 units. That's 1.8 times the number of buildings and more than 4.6 times the number of units greenlighted the year before. So what they're saying here is that when somebody goes to build, they need permits. So they have to go to the city to get permits to build. So they need permits to build, and then the city comes out and does their inspections, yada, yada, yada. So what they're saying is that there was a super increase in building permits. There was a super increase in building permits, and now they're going to tell you why, okay? Here's why the surge may not improve the affordability picture, though. Because what would happen normally is that prices would rise and you'll have a surge of builders. And then if the income doesn't keep up, people will stop buying at those rising prices and at some point in time go down. So what they're saying here is that what's the reason for this surge? And because normally the surge would be a good indication that, okay, maybe prices will come down. Because why do prices go up? Prices go up because the demand goes up. Why did demand go up? Either the demand went up or the supply went down. And what they're saying now is that because of the supply going down is the reason why supply going down and also an increase of demand is driving prices through the roof. Okay? But what they're saying is, okay, the supply is going to go up. So as the supply goes up, the demand should go down, which means the price should go down. Or even just the supply. If the supply goes up, then the price should come down. But here they're going to explain, here's why that surge may not improve the affordability picture, though. First, the difference in those multiples means that most of the new housing is multifamily. Multifamily meaning a duplex, triplex, or a fourplex or above. 87% will be in buildings with 5 or more units. So of those permits, 87% of those permits are going to be in buildings with 5 or more units. And right now, at least, that means most of these new units will be offered for rent. So what they're looking to do is these builders are these building permits are increasing, but they're for people that are renting. They're not for buyers. Okay? They're not for buyers, or they're not for homes that people can buy. It says during the last growth cycle, the housing bubble of 2007, 2008, we were building a lot of multifamily units, but they were condos. Now we're building apartments, not for the luxury segment of the market, but for the middle to upper income segments. And the developers are targeting millennials who can't afford to buy or are afraid to buy because they remember that the biggest economic event of their life was the housing bubble and the Great Recession. And I see that here. I'm in University City now, and they're putting up all types of upper middle income apartment buildings, middle to upper middle income buildings. They're putting them up all over, and they're massive. They're massive. So I definitely see this in the Philadelphia market. All right. It says a second reason, 2022, and this is the big one right here. So now they're going to give the second reason why these the number of growth in permits, it's not an indication that there's going to be more building to drive the prices to be more affordable for people. Okay. The second reason in 2021 was the last year that developers could receive the city's full 10-year 100% property tax abatement for their projects. A law passed in 2019 cut that abatement in half as of January. So last year's huge jump in permits issued won't be repeated, and the new permits are likely to fall off significantly below last year's. So what happened was we're in 2022. And January was the last time. Right. So the law was passed in 2019. All right. So there's something called a tax abatement. Let's start there. There's something called a tax abatement. Tax abatement means that if I'm a developer and I go in and I see this property, and let's say the property is $50,000. $50,000, the taxes is like $500 a year. Okay. So I go in and I renovate the property. And now the house is worth $300,000. So what would normally happen is the home would be assessed, and I would pay taxes based on the assessed value. So now the taxes might be $2,000. So went from $500 to $2,000 because the value went from $50,000 to $300,000. So what the tax abatement allows you to do is for 10 years, you fix that property up. Now it's worth $300,000. For 10 years, you're going to pay that $500 for your taxes. So you got a $300,000 home with taxes of $500 for the year. Now, you got people on two sides of the spectrum here as far as fights. You got one side that say, okay, that's drawing people into the city. That's drawing developers into the city. Okay, so it's like a carrot. It's a carrot for them. And I agree with them. So you have a lot of developers who they are nationwide developers. So they go all over and they look for these tech, and people have been doing this for so long. This is how they attract business, is they give people incentives. Okay? How do you get your kid to eat something? Hey, I give you some ice cream after. It's an incentive. So that's on one side of the spectrum. On the other side of the spectrum, what you have is you have people saying, well, we're missing out on those taxes. So Philadelphia is always short as far as taxes. And Philadelphia and property taxes support the school system, and Philadelphia's school system is terrible. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Its public school system is terrible. I was just reading yesterday where they have buildings that we're like in the 19th century, like buildings that are so old, and it's like the majority of them are. And to renovate all of them would be in like the multi billions. So it's just not functional, man. It's just not functional. And that's why you have the advent of the charter system here in Philadelphia to try to alleviate this, to try to privatize, because the city has not done a good job as far as public schools, just in general, ever since I've been alive. Anyway, but that's not what we're talking about. All right. So it says here, again, a law was passed in 2019. In 2019, cut that abatement in half as of January. So again, we're not going to see those permits jump the same way this year. It continues that there was a supply chain issue that have contributed to raging inflation across the economy. What we've been building has been slower in getting to the market. Okay, so I'm gonna try to speed this up a little bit. So yeah, so what they're saying now is that the cost of building has crept up also, along with inflation. Okay, so the question is, so are we doomed to join the ranks of those unaffordable superstar cities? All right. And this is what the rest of the article is kind of going to. I'm going to wrap this up because we're at 41 minutes now. Um, do I personally think that we're going to be unaffordable? No. Okay. I don't believe that we're going to be unaffordable. I think some people will be priced out. They just will be. And this has happened all of the time. Philadelphia isn't anywhere, it isn't new. This happened in New York. It happened in DC. I was in DC. They used to call DC Chocolate City. Okay. Now you can't find a whole lot of chocolate in DC. So it's just a thing that it happens. Okay. It's nothing is going to stop the progress. So what people need to do is they need to earn more money. They need to earn more money to afford these properties. And we can do that by financial literacy. We can do that by teaching individuals how not to lose their home to foreclosure. We can do that by teaching people how to correctly, we can teach grandmama and grandpa how to properly will their properties to the next generation. We can teach them about trust. We also can teach them about entrepreneurship. Why does one man hold all of this money? I'm not hating. I'm not hating. But a lot of us have a deficient mindset when it comes to money. We just think, well, let me just go get a job. Here's the thing about having a job, okay? I'm going to go into this real fast, okay? There's something called the cash flow quadrant. All right? There's something called the cash flow quadrant. And so it's a quadrant. It's 4 sections. All right? You have the rich dad side and you have the poor dad side. And this all goes back to a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If I'm sure most of you have heard about it. If you haven't, go get it today. Go get it yesterday. Matter of fact, go on YouTube and you can listen to it if you don't read. Okay? But definitely, this should be a required school book in schools. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It should be required. But this guy's second book was called the Cash Flow Quadrant. And anyway, not to get into it deeply, okay? But this guy, Robert Kiyosaki, said that he had a rich dad and he had a poor dad, okay? The poor dad was his dad. The rich dad was his friend's dad. So anyway, with this quadrant, there's a rich dad side, there's a poor dad side, meaning that there's a way that people get rich on this side, and there's a way people stay poor on the other side. The 2 quadrants that are the poor side are being employed and being self-employed. Why? Because it's transactional. Not transactional. You're exchanging time for money. This is what I wanted to say. You're exchanging time for money. If you go to work, you can only work, 24 hours. You can only work 24 hours in a day. I'm not hating on jobs, but you can only work 24 hours a day. You're exchanging time for money. And when you're self-employed, you're doing the same thing. You're exchanging time for money. So now there's some people who are in these quadrants that get rich, like athletes or entertainers. Okay, they're employees, but they get rich. Okay, but you're always changing time for money, so more than likely you won't get rich. And then on top of that, the one who's an employee, they're taxed the most. They're taxed the most. So you got the government hands in your pocket the most. So that's why employees, get my words mixed up. Employees, for the most part, never get rich. They never get rich, for the most part. They're trading time for money, and then on top of that, the government is all in your pocket. Okay? And with self-employed individuals, you're trading time for money. The government is less in your pocket, but you're still trading time for money. Now, the other side of the quadrant is business owner and to be an investor. An investor, you can be an investor by holding stocks, okay, stocks and bonds, or being an investor in a business, okay? Or you can be a business owner. You can own a business, entrepreneurship, okay, owning a business. When you own a business, you're not trading time for money. You're leveraging other people's time because people are working for you. So now you can see how you can multiply. Then for an investor, you're leveraging other people's technology and other people's money. So this is how you get rich through there. So if you don't want to say get rich, because some people may have a negative connotation, just earning more money. Just earning more money. All right, y'all. I'm going to shut this down. All right, y'all. So again, this is Philly Fridays. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate, I got you. This is Khalid Nathan Alim, the real estate boy. Catch me back next week. We will be, now I changed the time. We're going to go to 6 o'clock on Fridays. So 6 o'clock on Fridays. Catch me back here for the live stream. All right, y'all. Take care.